Hey friends, Doug Addison here, December 13th, 2018. I hope you're getting ready for Christmas. I hope everything's going well for you. Hey, I want to release this word over you right now is get a New Year's revelation for your resolution. The Lord spoke to me about this, and each year at this time I help people because I'm a prophetic life coach, and the Lord gave me a breakthrough years ago on how to do some things that are way better than New Year's resolutions that normally fail. But I want to release this over you right now. Proverbs 29:18, where there is no revelation, people cast off restraint, but blessed are the ones who heeds wisdom's instruction. So when we don't have revelation in what to do, then we can actually have restraints on us. But God wants to release the spirit of wisdom, revelation, and understanding to help you get in line. This happened to me in 2004, and this is when I got the download for this and became a prophetic life coach in the process. I was trying to get a breakthrough in my life, and I pressed in to hear God, and sure enough, He gave me this, but I had to take some steps to contend for it. So I tell you, this is the time to press in for God to speak to you. And once you hear God, there are some things that you can do. I use practical biblical understanding. I'm going to give you 5 steps right now to get you ready to hear God accurately. First of all, is what I do. I learned these things. This is what I wish someone would have shown me 25 years ago or more. 1 is to establish a foundation in your life. Luke 6:49, Jesus said, "But the one who hears my words and does not put them into practice is like a man who built his house on a ground without a foundation." So you want to build a foundation by what? It says hearing the word of the Lord and practicing it, and then actually putting it into practice, doing something. So you need to hear and activate. So establishing that foundation in your life is what's going to really be important. Also, number 2, I'm going to give you 5 steps that I do, is to cultivate a spiritual atmosphere to hear God. Did you know that when we complain, if we grumble, we do those things, what you sow, therefore you shall reap. Galatians 6:7. If you're sowing, grumbling, complaining, if you're even just sitting there saying, I can't hear God, I can't hear God, stop doing that. Begin to sow the opposite of what it is that you need that breakthrough. You know, if you need love, sow love. If you need, right now, gratitude, generosity, no grumbling. Begin to sow those things in your life all around you. And I tell you, I tell you, it will change your life. Might take a few weeks, but it will indeed shift the spiritual atmosphere over you to be able to hear the Lord. That's what happened to me several years ago, 2004, when I got the revelation. But then just recently, the Lord's been telling me even more and more. This is so important. And this is how I'm able to hear God for the daily prophetic words, for all the different things that you might see as I release. Now, the third thing to do to hear God accurately is to track what He says. Habakkuk 2, verse 2. Then the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. That's a bunch of people. It's not a guy. So you want to track what He says. I mean, my goodness, we sometimes spend more time on our hobbies, on our families and sports as opposed to hearing the Lord. And it's so important. You don't have to journal every day like I do, but at least track what God says. You know why it's important? Just this morning, I got up and I heard the Lord in the midst of some warfare. I heard Him say a date. He gave me a date. And I went back to my journal, and wow, it was an encounter that I had. He says, I'm now bringing this to pass. Now, when I had that date last year, I didn't think it was going to be important. I didn't think it was going to happen today. In fact, it happened in 2017, and He spoke those things. That's why it's just important to write down what God says and value it. Then it will open things up for you. Here's step number 4 to hearing God accurately. Learn to discern. It is possible. Hebrews 5:14. But solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil. Now, this is so important. You need to use your spiritual gifts all the time. And constant use means, practice. Some people, when I first started practicing hearing God, people at my church thought I was weird, and nowadays it's okay, it's okay to do it. You can ask God to confirm things. You can ask for Him to speak to you. Now, most people are afraid of being deceived, right? That's one of the biggest fears out there. But if you apply Hebrews 5:14, it says you'll be able to distinguish good from evil. That's a solution right there for the fear of being deceived. Because if you practice, I practice every day still. I do something every day, even when I'm taking a walk, or I'm at the mall or the shop or the store. I just get inside my spirit. I don't say anything unless the Lord tells me, but I get a word for everybody. And then I release it in the spirit, or I go out on the internet and release. I'm activating all the time, and that is step number 5. To hear God accurate is activate it into your life. James 2:17 is very clear. He says, faith by itself is dead. Without works is dead. So you can have faith in God, but if you're not doing something to apply it, doing something small, activating it into your life, it is dead. And that's really important. Years ago, God called me to public speaking and writing. I'm like, what? Those were my 2 worst subjects in school. And I was terrified of both of them. And so I started to activate it. I started to take steps. Years ago, I took steps. I asked to lead the Bible study in my home group at church. I wrote an article for the newsletter at work. I took some small training course. Now, we didn't have the internet back then, but now it's way easier. You could take a class, you can read a book, you can do something towards a prophetic word. If you feel called to write a book, I have a book called Write a Book Quickly. You could do some things that will help activate. You don't have to go out and buy the website right away. In fact, that's a mistake. That's in the category of prophetic shipwreck if you go out and do too much. But do things to keep the prophetic words alive. If God is calling you into into a relationship or a marriage, you can actually take some courses right now and prepare yourself. And so what you want to do is what I call the B.E.L.T. B.E.L.T. Don't beat yourself with it, but build. The B stands for build a daily foundation, just like I'm talking about. Eliminate fear, and the way you do that, Hebrews 5:14, you practice. The L stands for learn to discern God's voice, and T stands for transforming ungodly beliefs. The belief that God won't heal you, that He won't speak to you, that those types of things. You apply the belt, you will begin to hear God way, way more accurately. So each year at this time, I do some special messages to help people. I wrote my first book in 30 days, in 2004. Once I got this strategy, I've been trying to write it for 3 years. I even had an angel wake me up 3 years prior and say, Doug Addison, get up and write. I was given the outline, but it was so hard to write. Then I got this download on how to do it. And so I was able to write my book in 30 days. Now, it was a manuscript, and I'm not saying it was easy at all. Some people say, oh, you can't do that. Oh, yeah, you can. With God, all things are possible, right? Then I got out of debt. I deepened my relationship with the Lord and with my wife. I got healthier. I lost weight back then. I became a prophetic life coach, and each year I share these strategies at this time of year. So right now, you could go to my website and get these 2 free resources that I'm releasing this week. It's on my podcast. It's a Spirit Connection podcast, episode 75, How to Get Fresh Revelation for Your 2019 Breakthrough. And then I give you the 4 steps to breakthrough, 4 principles, accelerate you right through it. It's free, and God is not angry with you, by the way. If you feel like He is, that's probably one of the things that might be holding you back. I go into that, eliminating those things. The second free resource that I want you to get is my blog I released today called Getting Your New Year's Resolution from God First. Very similar theme of what we're talking about here. I have some steps that I talk about in the blog. I recommend reading the blog, getting the podcast down. You can get it on iTunes or my website, either way. But get that into your spirit, and guess what? If you want to go deeper, if you want a great Christmas gift for yourself or someone else, and it only costs $20.19, that's for 2019, I'm hosting an online training this weekend called Advancing into Your New Year, How to Prepare for 2019. Now, it's this Saturday, December 15th, 10 to noon. It's 2 hours of training. It's regularly $37, but we're doing it for $20.19. You don't have to be there. If you want to, buy this as a gift to someone else, we'll send the notes, we'll send the replay to you. I tell you, if you feel discouraged, maybe you've tried before and failed, maybe you've given up on some past dreams or passions in your life, maybe you don't feel released to move forward, but you're stuck in a dead situation, or maybe you feel like there's something more and you just don't know where to start. This is similar to other things I've released. Each year I release one of these. So some people say, yeah, I've already taken it. Oh boy, you want to grab this one. I've updated about 40%. There is some things that are overlap because it's the principles I walk you through. It's the exercises that are very powerful. And when we do them together, you get a chance to ask questions. You get the activation prayers, and I send you the forms for you to apply it in your life. So what we'll do is go through how to hear God. I want to give you, by the way, a sneak preview of the 2019 prophetic word that I'll be releasing. And we'll go through how to hear God, how to get out of debt, how to get a better job, how to deal with those things, some practical things. And then years ago, I wanted to go into Bible training. Bible college, couldn't afford the Bible training. So I did some practical things. I was strapped in my full-time job. I had child support. Can we get real? I was in debt. I had the call of God. I couldn't afford. I tell you, I couldn't afford anything. So what I did was I started a resume writing business back in the 80s. This was the 80s before the internet. And I would write resumes for people, and I'd make maybe $50. Then I'd go down to the Bible bookstore, the Christian bookstore, and I'd buy some training stuff just using these things. Then I took it a step further. I was still working my full-time job, as a manager in the information systems. I started fixing computers for people at my church, really just to help them. But then I started making extra money on the side so I could reduce my debt. And I tell you, these are the strategies I'll be sharing on how to make more money, how to work online, how to develop a plan if you feel called to a better job, a different ministry. This is the practical stuff I'm going to be talking about, as well as once you get it, once you figure out what it is that you want to do, then I've got some exercises that I'll walk you through. Or if you don't know what it is, I'm going to do a really powerful exercise together where we look at where you are in each area of your life, and then you can pray over it. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. So this is a special offer as well for those who attend. This is we're going to reveal and give a discount on the January training I have coming up. It's called Opening Your Book of Life, and it's the prophetic word for 2019. We're doing it in an online training. So the big part of this really is the activation prayer. It's getting the ability to ask the Q&A, getting the forms. So it's called Advancing into Your New Year, Preparing for 2019. This Saturday, just go to DougAddison.com/New Year, or you can just go to my website, especially if you go in there to pick up the podcast of that stuff. You can sign up or sign up for someone else. It's going to be really exciting. Share it with a friend and hope to see you there. Hope you have a great weekend too. Blessings to you.